Welcome to Batchademia,
a podcast so educational it could be a university class.
With your hosts,
Danielle Dick McHugh,
Kim Hannah,
and Bill Henninger.
Hey everybody, it's Batchademia. I'm here with Bill. Hello. Bill.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good, but all I care about is how you are because you got to take a wonderful trip and I'm very jealous.
I did. And ironically, I was literally in London 4 days ago.
Yeah. So you've got the juice on all this. Like, you can tell us about all the things they did, how touristy it was, how not touristy it was.
So on my trip, whenever I go anywhere, even if it's like down the street, I try to be the least touristy human being possible.
Mm-hmm.
And when they started gyrating on the beef eater, I was like, oh, way to just put a big sign over you that says we're American tourists.
Yeah, you know, when I lived in Ireland and I was over in London a couple times, and it's like, it definitely seems like only Americans are the ones like doing stuff to the beef eaters. And I just feel bad for them.
Yeah.
It's like, they want to just be like, bam.
Would you do that to the guy at the Arlington Cemetery, like unknown soldier?
The Tomb of the Unknown Shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you doing it is it because of the hat? That's dumb. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. Well, we have 2 episodes that we're covering this week.
2.
And so one of them had stuff happen and one of them was less exciting. So I think that we will bring out the excitingness by talking about it because, oh boy. But I want to say, what?
We are bringing the heat tonight.
We are bringing the heat.
But in a very refined British way, because you have on and you're drinking.
So I went to, because I'm super cool and I love PBS and I'm a member. I love All Creatures Great and Small. And we grew up in a household with a dad who loves All Creatures Great and Small, the books. And my grandfather was a country veterinarian. And so when I realized how close I was going to be to Thirsk for part of my trip, I took the train and spent the morning at the James Herriot Museum. I was the youngest person there. I was also the first person there because I went first thing in the morning and I got there right when I was in the building before they were even open.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought this kicky little hat there and some other stuff. But I'm also drinking tea because Greer was adamant that she should do all the things because she drinks tea.
Oh, man.
And so I'm going to be adamant that I do all the things because I'm drinking tea. Plus, it's really cold out tonight and tea warms me up. So
I'm drinking Diet Squirt and whiskey.
Oh, see, I know you did dry January.
Yeah.
I'm doing dry Pisces season.
Okay.
Because I drank all the way across southern England and southern Wales and then mid northern England while I was overseas. And so I'm drying out a little bit for the next month. So we're the opposites now.
Yeah. I'm back with a vengeance after dry January.
Yeah. I did buy a bunch of gin that's just like staring at me.
Staring at you.
That I'm super excited to dive into after Pisces season.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get going.
Let's do it.
Shall we talk about that? Oh, that's the worst English accent ever. Hello. Shall we talk about the show this week, Governor?
I love it. I can't even do English. Yeah.
I may have seen My Fair Lady this summer, and I'm now just going to talk like Eliza. Don't worry about it. Question of the week. Okay, so we'll talk about it more in the recap, and we'll talk about it more in other places today. But little Mr. Zach got the COVID, got the Rona.
Mhm.
And he got brought a care package, a gift basket, while he was in his hotel room by one of the ladies, Katie. And so I think that our question of the week should be, what would you want in your locked in a hotel room with COVID care basket if you were in Zach's position?
That's a solid question. So when I got COVID, Elaine actually had to go get surgery, and Kim was nice enough to come over and help Elaine while I was locked in an Airbnb so that I didn't infect her. And so kind of like, you know, anti-Valentine's Day, I just bought myself all my own COVID stuff and got it like Instacart. So I remember I got like a ton of tortilla chips, because that's kind of my guilty pleasure, is just tons of tortilla chips. Peanut M&Ms, Diet Mountain Dew. There you go. Maybe
those are good.
Yeah, maybe a subscription to one of the streaming services. So I am not a like stay on one. I am like I get on one and I watch everything I want to watch, and then I rotate off. And so like if someone surprised me with like, hey, you've got HBO Max for the next month, that would be great. Yeah. I had such a bad headache, no reading. So I had a really bad headache the whole time. So it had to be really easy TV. I watched a lot of the old Muppets show. Like the Muppets, like the one from the 70s, the variety show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it still checks out.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it in a while, go back, and it's like this was ahead of its time. Yeah. So
I like those answers. I still have not, as far as I know, had COVID. So I don't know. And I managed to get through O'Hare security where there were no COVID regulations anywhere.
Nice.
And I didn't get it so far. I feel like I would know by now. So, but I think if I was locked in a hotel room with COVID, I would want, I'm also a fan of the tortilla chips. I love making nachos. Yeah. So I would want like a daily Instacart with all the nacho ingredients to make myself nachos for every meal. I would want pints of Ben & Jerry's vegan fish food ice cream.
Okay.
And then I would want someone dropping, like I would be putting books on hold at the library, and then I would have someone go get those books as I finished books and bring them to the door so that I could keep reading.
That's a good one.
If I didn't have a headache, I think I would be reading a lot. And then I would want like big, fluffy pajamas. I would want like the most cozy, comfy pajamas to wear while I was locked into my hotel room.
I don't think I changed clothes the whole, like, and that I got it back when it was like the 14-day quarantine. So I think I wore like the same tank top and shorts the whole time. I was feeling rough for the first like 5 or 6 days, and then I started to feel better, and then it's like, crap, I am locked in this room for like 6 more days. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was funny, and I don't know if other people noticed this. The filming they had of Zach in his hotel room by himself when he didn't feel good I think it was even before they said he had COVID. Yeah. Where he was just like walking around and picking things up. Like it's the worst B-roll ever. And he's just kind of like wandering around doing nothing. Like, I know they ran out of material for the episode this week, but really, This is what you're showing? Okay. Whatevs. All right. Should we go to the recap?
Yeah. We're going to do a 2-minute recap here.
It might be 4 minutes.
That's fine. 2 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, if you remember what my recaps were like when we were doing this normally, I did scale back a little bit. I'm trying to be less insane.
I love your favorite. I love your recaps. They're top 3 favorite recaps of mine.
We'll see. Okay. See if I can read my handwriting. Okay, here we go. Ready? Week 1. The Bahamas. #right reasons. #awkward boat dancing. Okay. So Boring Jesse announces they're going to the Bahamas and everyone freaks the F out. They head to a resort in the Bahamas. The first one-on-one is with Kat, and the other girls are really bad at hiding their disappointment. Greer is pissed. Kat and Zach are pro sunscreen, as am I. And so good job, you guys. I appreciate that they're doing better jobs of showing people putting sunscreen on in the last few seasons of The Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise.
I feel like that's what Jesse Palmer, the last one, remember, he's like, we've heard you, Bachelor Nation, and we are working on it. We thought it was going to get like more interesting guys. No.
Sunscreen.
Yep. Sorry.
Sunscreen is so important.
It is.
Oh, I'm pale. I put it on. I wear it now. I have it on right now. Because my lamp is so bright. Okay. The girls not on the date are in freaking paradise in a pool, and all they're doing is complaining about not being with Zach. I'm like, turn around and look at yourselves. This is beautiful. You're in a pool. I want to be in a pool. Stop complaining. No, thank you. Kat's date with Zach was nice and boring. They danced on the boat, but you couldn't hear his music. Okay. They did have fireworks. So the girls were like, oh, look how pretty the fireworks are. Oh, it's for them. Bummer. And then there's the group date, and it's Allie and Katie and Ariel and Davia and Genevieve and Anastasia. I don't know why I listed everybody. Nobody cares. But Kylie and Mercedes and Charity and Gabi and Jess and Greer. And it's a fish fry thing where they're like chucking fish in each other's mouths. This is the date. Okay? Question mark?
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't really participate because she's allergic to shellfish. And I'm like, girl, I see you. I feel you, because that is me at every picnic.
Yes.
There is some drama with Kylie and Anastasia, and they're, hey, can I steal you for a second? Sit shtick. And it seemed dumb. Like, it seemed lame. Zach did nothing. There was accusations of like violence or something. I don't know. I kind of zoned out at this point. I'm still a little, I watched last week's episode on Monday night, so I was still a little jet lagged. So bear with me on this one. But Zach didn't really do anything. And this whole group date was like dumb. I thought it was really lame. Anyway. And then Kylie tells Zach that at some point, Anastasia talked about like gaining Instagram followers, and apparently that is the worst thing you could ever do on this show. But also that's exactly why everyone is on this show, so I don't understand why they make such a big deal about it. But Zach is angry, and he shows anger. But this issue seems dumb. Ariel gets the group date rose, and I have no memory of anything she did on the group date, but it must have been something. And then the second one-on-one is with Brooklyn. I really like Brooklyn. She's fun. They go ATVing, and then they hang out on beanbags on the beach. And I didn't hate this date. I would do this date. And then she really shared her truth at dinner, and I thought it was a really good conversation. She didn't want to date anyone like her father, which I think a lot of girls feel that way. But and then she did find herself in an abusive relationship, even though she didn't want to be in that kind of relationship, and just kind of like it rolled out. First, it started with emotional abuse, and then verbal, and then violence. And then she said, I'd had enough, and she left him, and that's awesome. Good job. Amazing. But she did share that she like woke up one time and he had hit her so hard she blacked out, and she woke up and the police were there. So boys, do better. Stop being dicks. Don't beat your girlfriends.
I agree.
I was very impressed with how Zach handled the conversation, because we know he's like a robot, but his robot empathy button worked for this date. So good job. And then they had the cocktail party, and he talked to Anastasia again, and he said, bye-bye, Anastasia, but I bet we'll see you in paradise.
That's to go.
And then there was a rose ceremony, and then we say bye-bye to Davia and Genevieve as well. And then it's London, baby. Friends. Classic. This recap will be a lot shorter because Zoom is involved because COVID. They go to London, and again, we talked about this. I was just there. They did none of the fun things that you can do in London, except they did go to a pub, and that is one of the fun things you can do in London, but they didn't do anything else. And I don't know if they just didn't show them doing anything else, but if he's anyway, we'll get back to that.
Well, we should point out that he couldn't come.
Right, but they had a double-decker bus that was going all over the city. They could literally go anywhere.
Yeah.
There are a lot of actors playing butlers on this week's episode. That was interesting to me. Like, not everybody has a butler over there, and they were all clearly actors.
Mhm.
Gabi gets a first date card, and the girls are no longer even pretending to hide their disappointment. And Greer thinks she should have gotten the one-on-one because she likes tea. So as I say that, I'm going to take another little sip of my tea.
Her whole personality was.
Her whole personality is tea and her tea tattoo.
She's got a tea tattoo.
Get a better personality. Okay. Gabi gets the pretty woman date where she gets to go shopping. And the first thing they did was go make perfume. And did you see the fabulous meme about when Zach is holding the strip to his nose? And they're like, this is the exact moment Zach realized he had COVID. If he didn't smell it. And then Gabi tries on dresses, and it gave me Winston and Cece mess around vibes from New Girl. Like, I like them together, but I also got like best friends hanging out, not we love each other. They roll around with puppies. Amazing. I want to do that. Right. Apparently they're royal corgis. Sure. At dinner.
No, they're descendants from the royal corgi.
They're from the royal corgi bloodline.
Yeah.
Gross. They have dinner.
Basically how I'm like the mayor of Elk Run Heights here.
Yes.
Cedar Falls. He's my grandpa. So it'd basically be like rolling around on the floor with me, that level of prestige.
Oh, Evansdale. Ouch. That's not something to be
Elk
proud
Run.
Of. Elk Run.
Totally
I'm sorry.
different city.
That's better. That's better. I don't think I have anything I can brag on that I descended from.
Probably better.
Yeah. My great-grandfather was a pharmacist, and pharmacists in the 20s and 30s had all sorts of good stuff. So maybe I'm descended from a drug lord. I don't know. So UB40 is the musical guest on their date. I was like,
yeah.
Are they even still alive? Yes, they are, and they performed. Gabi gets the rose, duh. Then so here's where it gets wild. So the girls are announced for group date, and Charity gets the second one-on-one because she isn't announced with a group date, and Greer is pissed. Doesn't Zach know that she has a tea tattoo that is tiny and not obvious, and this was the first time any of us knew it existed? Come on, Zach. The girls get dressed and ready, and then boring Jesse comes in and says, guess what? Zach is sick. So he lets them get ready and then lets them know what's going on. And this happens again. The producers are jerks.
Yes.
But he goes, but you're going to go on the date anyways without him. And so the girls are mad because they're like, what? And I have to say, ladies, I'm talking to you right now. I'm so over 2 minutes. You have a free day in London, one of the which is a really fun town, a really fun city. It's not they kept talking about romantic London, and I was like, huh? Okay, but it is a fun city. There's a lot to do in London. There's a lot to see. And you get to go around on a double-decker bus and see everything and drink as much beer as you want to, and you're mad about it? What are you going to do, sit in the hotel otherwise?
It's like a top 10 destination in the world.
It's really, so much fun.
London, New York, Tokyo. Yeah.
And you can I'm going to be a tour guide for a hot second. You can get anywhere on the underground. Like you can take the tube everywhere, and you can go to all these random places. You can take trains out of the city. You can go to Stratford. You can see Shakespeare's stuff. You can go, you can get to Wales, where I was, in 2.5 hours from central London. Girls, come on. Also, side note, the lady bartender was awesome, and I think she should be the next bachelorette.
Oh, sure.
She was so much fun.
Yeah.
So then they come back, and the producers again let them get all dressed up, and then boring Jesse comes in and is like, guess what? Zach has COVID. And my first question is, so did Gabi get tested? Because, I mean,
I'm sure she did.
Had to have been exposed, but she was sitting in the group in the middle of them when he came in and said he has COVID. And then Jesse goes, Katie, you're a nurse. You know how serious this is. And there are 5 other nurses that, didn't get
It's
any
so
mention.
weird. Yeah.
And I'm like, justice for nurses.
And then he
But
just
for
kind of
real.
walked out. Then he was like, you know how serious this is. And then they
Yeah.
walked out and they're like,
See ya.
so are we gonna he's like,
Like,
you're
what do
the
we do
adult.
now?
You are the
Ugh.
adult.
There are no adults, clearly. We're the adults. Katie takes a care package to Zach's door, like we talked about earlier, and they talk, and I think she'll be top 3. I like them together. And then she hugs the door because she can't hug him. And I was like, you're dorky. I like you. And then we have the dumbest cocktail hour and rose ceremony ever on the history of the show for the 5 seasons that I've seen it. Greer tries to empathize with Zach and be like, yeah, I had a really important end of budget year project that had to get done, and I got COVID and it was really hard. And he's like, I'm trying to find my wife. It's not the same thing. And I was like, why are you a dick? What's going on? Excuse my language for the younger listeners. And then they all line up and the girls have to stand there while Zach does this Max Headroom talking head thing. That's an 80s reference. You're welcome, other millennial listeners. And the girls have to pick their own rose when he says their name. And then we had to say goodbye to Iowa's own Sweet Mercedes. She got sent home by the head in the TV. But hopefully we'll see her in paradise. And that was 2 weeks of Bachelor.
Nice.
With the robot.
Yeah. I got some thoughts.
Go for it.
Oh no, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In my wild card. But let's do your stuff first.
Okay. Yes, please. Let me go first, Bill. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first thing is, and this was hot on my thought process because again, I literally just got back from vacation on Sunday. If you go on vacation to an all-inclusive in another country,
nope.
Are you really traveling internationally?
No.
Because I've never done all-inclusive. I've never been to an all-inclusive resort, but from what I understand, you're basically eating American food and you never leave the resort. So does it count as traveling internationally?
No, not in my opinion. I think it is essentially you could just do it in California, right?
Yeah.
But you get to say, well, when I went to Mexico to Sandals. And so full disclosure, I have been rewatching The Office because they have the super fan episodes on Peacock now where they add in all of the deleted scenes. And
what?
If you're an Office fan, it adds 15 minutes to an episode and it really works out. And they have the whole thing where Michael takes Jan to Sandals.
Yeah.
It's you're basically just living off the locals, right? Right. They come in and work there and then they leave, but all you're doing is just hanging out at the resort. No, it doesn't count. Yeah. You get that stamp on your passport, it should come with an asterisk on it.
Yeah. Well, they don't even really stamp your passport anymore.
Yeah. You
Maybe
need
they do in Mexico.
Yeah, you need to have to really get it. You need to have to go and try to find your way around a city and just be I do not know where I am in Amsterdam and I cannot tell what canal I am at. Or, this Irish taxi driver just said something to me and I could not tell you what he said.
Yeah. So my trip involved all forms of transportation except bicycling, pretty much. So I was on city buses, I was on trains, I was in cars, I flew, obviously. Yep. To get around York, where my hotel was, I either walked to city center or I took the bus every morning. And then you get into the city center and then you can't really see the way, it's an old English city. The buildings in where I was are 2 or 3 stories high. They're hanging over the street. You can't really tell where the sun is if the sun is out. So I would just, and you kind of can use the map on your phone, maybe if it can, cause sometimes you could get Wi-Fi and sometimes you couldn't. And I got to the point where I could kind of figure out where I was going. If I could find where the York Minster, the big cathedral was, if I could find the towers of that above the buildings, and I could kind of orient myself. That's travel. Like sitting on the, and again, I don't vacation well where you just lie on a beach and don't do anything. That's not relaxing to me. I don't enjoy that kind of that travel. But even if you go to like Sandals, Mexico City, I don't even know where they are. Do they take you outside, or do you literally just stay on the campus of the resort?
I'm sure you can get like a van ride with a tour guide, that drives you, but I feel like it's still so insulated. My issue is with the all-inclusive. Like, I feel like to really have traveled to a different country, you need to at some point look at all the money and be like, I have no clue how much this is, or if I need to take more out. You need to at least like think you're tipping with a quarter in England and be like, shit, I just gave that person $2 or €2. Like that's the way it works. I don't make the rules.
Yeah. Well, and you have to be able to be like, why do you have like,
yeah,
I don't understand what any of this is. And the currency rates, like in the UK, it was like not that different. The pound, unfortunately for them, the pound and the dollar aren't that different right now, which is great for us and not great for them. But like you go to countries where like it's 5 billion whatever and it's 50 cents American, like that blows my mind.
10,000 baht to $1, and it's like, or try to get in a toilet and be like, this is a pay toilet, what are we doing? Or like ask for ice in France and have them be like, no, what do you need? Or
water, like tap or still tap, please. I'm not spending £3 on water. Okay, so I think we have sufficiently said that we are cool and we travel better than people who just do all-inclusives, because you got to experience the culture, folks.
You yuppies.
All right, so
I don't know who I'm calling yuppies, but I'm calling someone yuppies.
Are yuppies even a thing anymore?
I don't know. I dated myself.
You did. Well, I mean, we've got 80s references all over the place today.
Yeah.
So I just realized I have 4 concepts, so we don't necessarily have to do all 4 of these, but one of the things that I thought was very interesting was Brooklyn's sharing. I thought it was very vulnerable of her to share that, and I thought it was great of her to share it. And one of the reasons it stood out to me is one of the books I read on my flight was Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us, which is a book that it highlights a woman who grew up with an abusive father who abused her mother. He never abused her, but she grew up watching her father verbally, emotionally, physically abuse her mother. And then he died. Oops. That happens early in the book. I haven't spoiled anything. And then when she is, as an adult, she has always said, I will not date anyone that is abusive. He has to, and she meets this guy and he's super great and wonderful. And then when he loses his temper, he is abusive, and she lets it go for a little while. And then I don't want to give, the book is called It Ends With Us, so I think you can kind of infer what happens. But I wanted, as a relationship expert, you, not me, what are you seeing with with college students? Is this something that they are discussing when they're in relationships? How do you handle this as like a class lecture, or do you talk about this in any of your classes? How to handle it? And it goes both ways. I mean, women can be abusive in relationships as well.
Yeah, so we talk about it in one of my classes, and in full disclosure, I don't have a lot of experience personally with abusive relationships, but I have read Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us, and I do think from what I've read in the research and what I understand, it's a really good portrayal of how people get in abusive relationships, because a lot of people say, well, if I was in an abusive relationship, I would just leave. And what we know is that it's not that easy. If it was that easy, people would be like out right away. But you got to think about, people do crazy stuff when they really like somebody. people don't abuse you and then continue to do it. They say, I'm going to change. You also have a lot of barriers to getting out of the relationship. And so it is a good example of that. And going back to, and I can't, Brooklyn, talking about, I woke up and he had hit me. It's like, it's hard for people who have never been in that relationship to understand what it's actually like to be in that type of relationship. And so we do have a Center for Violence Prevention that's part of the department that I'm the department head of at the University of Northern Iowa. Come here if you want to learn about stuff like that. And it talks about, kind of the education and the idea of bystanders. So probably what I would take away from this is that if you are a friend of somebody who is in a domestic assault, domestic violence, domestic abuse type situation, you can play a big role in helping them get out. And that's by, encouraging them to get help, encouraging them to get resources, helping them remove the barriers to leaving. You think about it, if you have a child and you don't work and your significant other is the person that makes all the money, what if you leave? Where do you go? And helping with things like that. So that would be the big thing that I would say about it. It's not easy. So, and then what we know is that patterns recreate themselves. So people who grew up in abusive relationships, for whatever reason, they end up kind of getting into them or like becoming part of them in some way. And it's not an easy answer. So,
Excellent. And I do recommend that book. If
have you read
It
Starts With Us?
No, but I understand that it is the sequel.
It's the sequel, not the prequel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's what happens after.
Okay. Yeah, after the events of that one. I still need to read that one, but I haven't. It's in my list. And by read, I mean audiobook, because I'm adult and I don't read.
Well, reading on an audiobook it counts. I'm listening to a very interesting one right now, actually.
Several people have told me it doesn't count, and I'm always like, it does.
Those people are wrong.
I'd like to say it's because I have some reason why I have to do it that way, but honestly, it's just because I'm lazy and it's easier for me to do it that way.
Well, you're safer. You're being a safe driver because you can't read a book while driving, but you can listen to a book and it counts as reading it while you're driving.
Not after the last time. Next.
Okay. And we're going to segue that into the opposite of what we were just talking about. So, like I said in the recap, they kept talking about the romantic city of London, and London is for romance. And what are your thoughts on that, Bill?
Could they not get into Paris? Because Paris is I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue that. I went to London with a girl I was dating when I lived in Ireland, and we broke up shortly after.
It's the opposite for you.
Yeah, it was not the city of love. It was the city of many tiny little arguments, and like us getting back to Ireland and me being like, this is done. This was not good for either of us. So I have a tainted image, but I would like to understand why it's a city of romance. I get it. There was like Shakespeare, and he wrote a lot about love. There's a lot
he did, but he also wrote a lot about death.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like drinking, which I feel like romance and drinking kind of go hand in hand, maybe. Like going to romantic dinners. Also, I feel like romance, for me, food is connected to romance. I'm not sure if that's a healthy thing, but if you've ever been to London, they are not known for their good food. They've got like one or two good things, and then it is like, man, they like really beige colored food slathered in weird sauces. It's
And mushy peas.
There's
nothing sexier than mushy peas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the food of London, if you go and it's like the Indian restaurants or the Chinese restaurants, are delicious. But
again, though, beige colored food. And sauces.
That's true.
Like,
I don't like, for me, when you do like tours or you go around London, what they point out is like, here's where this person was beheaded. Here's where this person was beheaded. Here's where the plague was. Here, like that's not romantic. I don't know. And I mean, I guess unless you like that stuff and that turns you on, which knock yourself out, more power to you. But I think like the English countryside is romantic. I think like the area up where I was up in York, the area around York is gorgeous, and it's like rolling hills and it's green. There were flowers coming up because it's so moist. Ugh, I hate that word. But like the grass was all green. There were flowers blooming, and it's February. We definitely do not have that here. So I think like the countryside is romantic, and I think there are romantic places in England. Like I think Bath is romantic. I think, but I don't know that London is that super romantic.
No, I feel like it is very historical, especially for white English speakers. It is like the place you go to learn history. In Europe, it's like Rome, Greece, and England or London are kind of your big cities of like where the empires kind of moved from. Obviously in the East, like the different ones over there are their own thing in Asia, but yeah.
I mean, you can go to London and see all the stuff they stole from other countries.
There you go. Yeah.
So, like the museums and stuff are full of stuff from other places, but
yeah.
I just thought it was so funny because they kept talking about it, and I was like, girls, you're okay. But I do love
awesome
London,
city though.
And I'm glad they went. I just wish they would have done more stuff.
It's like alive is the best way I can put it. Like as far as the city, it is like, it's just, there's energy there, but whenever I was there, I was never like, oh God, I'm going to find the love of my life. It's like, I'm going to get drunk at a bar and I'm going to snog somebody. I'm going to snog someone's face off tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. You're going to drink pints down and like shoot darts and just get a blitzkrieg watching the game on the TV.
I did appreciate that they gave a lot of play to snog as a word, because that was one of the words I learned over there. And it is my favorite slang term I've ever like.
But she said snug. She kept saying snug.
Yeah, no, it's snog. It's snog. Yeah. The Irish people are like, I had this friend named Helen when I lived over there, and she would be like, and I saw this guy and he was drunk and he was snogging a face off. And so good. Yeah. And it's not like snog is not a kiss. It is like a drunken like.
No, it's like there's like moisture all over your face when they're done with you.
Yep.
There's like it's like a toddler kiss when they open their mouth and go over your nose. That's snogging.
Yep, exactly.
I do. Speaking of that, although he did not do this, I did make a new best friend when I was over there. I got to give a shout out to my little guy Ewan. I have discovered, and I've known this for quite some time, that I am huge with the 4-year preschool and toddler crowd. Like those cats love me. And my friend Ellie's little guy, I stayed with them a couple of days, and he and I have become best friends.
I get that. I can see that.
And he saw a picture of me after Ellie got home from when we were in Wales, and he's like, "Oh, it's my best friend." So I am sorry to my sister and to a couple of other people, but you have been replaced by Ewan.
I like it.
Okay. So the final of the 4, and even though we were only supposed to do 3, what are the little things that really make a relationship strong? So Gabi and Zach the robot were talking about this, about the little things, and I wondered what your thoughts are on what the little things are that you think make a relationship strong. And it probably depends on the person, but what are your ideas about what are the little things?
Probably not taking yourself too seriously, like, because you're going to do some stuff that like, is pretty dumb, and your partner is going to poke fun at you, or at least every relationship I've been in, that's been a component, and being able to laugh with them is probably pretty powerful, but it's a little thing, right? Your partner gives you a little poke about something dumb you said and not blowing up on them.
Yep.
And then just, doing things that make them happy. And it's like, I always like, because apparently I am totally centered around the office, not gym things, not like, yes. Yep. I don't have my Michael Scott Memorial 5K, but doing the little things. So not like the gym, like big romantic gestures, but like the
Yeah.
little things like you know, bringing them coffee in the morning, or
That's huge for me.
yep, or knowing their order, you know, like you got
Yep.
to get something and you're like, I'll bring this to them, or you know, filling their car up, or you know, anything like that. I think is probably the little things that work, and it gets you a lot of grace in your
Mhm.
relationship, right? If you're probably gonna do something that pisses your partner off. It's like that gives you grace. I
Yep.
think I talked last week about Gottman and the 7-to-1 principle, and it's like that's all part of that 7-to-1 principle, right? It's those little things that add up. So
Yep.
good
I
job.
agree. I agree. And I'm
Yeah,
my
what
big
about
thing
you?
is the coffee in the morning,
Mhm.
like someone either bringing it to you while you're still in bed, or like while you're in the shower, you get out and there's a cup of hot coffee on the bathroom counter ready for you. Chef's kiss. I mean, that's literally all it takes to start my day happy.
Yep.
And then yeah, like just I didn't even realize, like when you mentioned filling your car up, I was like, yes, that's magical. If you use my car last and you
Right.
come home and you have filled it up, that is magical. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think I think I'm much more of a little things than a big gestures person also,
Yeah.
because I think the big gestures, anybody can do the big gestures and they can be very hollow.
Yeah.
But it's the little thing, because that means they're paying attention. If they do the
Yeah.
little things, they're paying attention, and that's
Yeah.
important.
It's interesting because you don't get to see those here. Like
Mhm.
everything's a big gesture because there's so much little time. And so
Yeah.
I was thinking about that when I was watching it, and it's like that's probably one of the biggest parts where it's not real world, because you don't have that time to be like, if I'm struggling, are they going to be like, hey, I ordered dinner tonight, don't worry about it. You know, if I'm
Yep.
like coming home late and it's like I'm really tired, like that's a little gesture to just be like, hey, I ordered his pizza, don't worry about it, or you know, like
Yep.
I'll get the dishes or something like that. So
Yep. Yep. I forgot I was going to say something very profound and I don't remember what it was, so maybe it'll come back later. But yeah. Oh, no, I know what it is. So you can always tell the people that are always like the social media um grand announcements about how much, especially because Valentine's Day was last week.
yes, yeah,
My husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend, like I always think those are the relationships that aren't going to make it, because they
yeah,
feel like they have to like announce to the world what, or when they get flowers and they
yep,
take a picture of it and
yeah.
yeah,
They bought me
people don't need,
chocolates and did
yeah.
this, and it's like, but do they put your clothes in the
Do
wash
they
when
make
you
your
see?
bed in the morning?
Yeah,
Do
because you
they
like it. Like, yeah,
do they shovel the driveway for you?
yeah.
Those are the things.
When they
Yeah.
walk by your hamper and they see it has dirty clothes, do they grab them and throw them in, or do they wait for you to do it? You know, it's things like that. So.
Yep. Excellent. All right.
All right, so here's my thing. I thought the whole interaction between Zach and Greer in the Zoom date was really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like Greer was trying to give out the olive branch and be really nice and say, you know, I get what you're going through. And for whatever reason, Zach decided that this was not okay. And I
Yeah.
thought kind of rudely shut her down. Um,
Yeah.
any thoughts on that? Like I would like I was watching it with Elaine and she was like, wow, yeah, that like clearly she was just trying to be nice and like, hey, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get it. Any thoughts?
I thought that he was totally out of line. Because she like you can't compare what he's going through with anything that she would have experienced, because no one else, she hasn't been the bachelorette, like
Right.
she hasn't been with 15 girls and or 15 men and gotten COVID and had to like isolate, but she did have a really important end of year project that she had to get done, and then COVID like sidelined it. So she's like, yeah, I know this sucks when
Right.
you get COVID, because it always happens at the worst possible time. It never hits like the week between Christmas and New Year's when you are planning on just laying on the
Exactly.
couch watching TV all week anyways. It always happens at like the worst possible time. And the fact that he just like ripped her apart over that was nuts.
Right. I thought that there's two things. I thought it was a little misogynistic because it was like, I too work.
Mhm.
I know exactly what it's like. Also, Brene Brown talks a lot about this like sympathy, empathy thing.
Yep.
Hey Brene, we're talking about you again.
We love
Hey, buddy.
you.
Send me a tweet. But anyway, she talks about this idea of empathy and basically saying that sucks, and I'll sit here with you
Yep.
in it. But sympathy is like, wow, it's really bad down there. All right, I'll talk to you later. And I felt like she was Greer the best of her ability. And I think we need to remember too that Greer is what, like 12?
She's a
14?
baby.
She's cute, but she's like 14.
Yeah.
I felt like she was doing her best to be empathetic and say, man, this sucks. I'll sit here and I'll be your buddy and I'll
Yep.
listen to you. And he was kind of like, no, you could never understand me. And I feel like when someone's trying to be empathetic, the other person has some responsibility to recognize that empathy is happening and accept it in its form.
Yep.
Right. And so maybe Zach needs to check himself a little bit. My other thing, the COVID dates. All right. I was on the task force at the university when COVID hit. Okay. And we had to change everything online. And right, we are 3 years past this pandemic, or 3 years into this pandemic. That was the most janky, I don't know if that's an inappropriate term, but that was the most janky setup. And it's like, did these people not like, hey, he could get COVID? It seemed like they were just like, oh shit, what are we gonna do here today?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and he had like his laptop stacked on like reams of paper or something weird. It's like, what
Now,
are we not professionals here, people? Let's like, we can do better. Okay.
my laptop is on 2 puzzles right now, but that's different.
But you make a person who works for a wonderful nonprofit salary. You are not pulling in the money like like a multi-million-dollar industry that is the Bachelor Enterprises.
Well, and
laptop on reams of paper is totally okay if you make X amount of dollars. When you're the freaking Bachelor and your whole job is to film, like you have a even I have a freaking like thing that I can clip my camera to.
well, and I thought it was hilarious that they had the tablet for the girls, and none of them like acted like they knew how to zoom on a tab. Like, have you we've been doing this for 3 years? You hold it up or you prop it on something. Why are you? What is happening right now?
So here is what Elaine and I figured out. They didn't have a front-facing camera, so they couldn't see themselves. And that's why they were like, because 2 of them were like, can you see me? They weren't allowing them to see themselves. So also they were doing the like up the nose. It was, oh man, talk about sexy. Talk about oh.
It was just funny. I did not date anyone during lockdown, so I didn't do the COVID dating over Zoom, but I know a lot of people did, and it sucked for everybody. So it made me laugh out loud when they were trying to do it this week in the episode.
We are past that level of all of the interns should be severely
they should have just had them FaceTime each other on their, well, I guess they don't have their phones.
Fine, give them their phones for the day.
Give them their phones so they can FaceTime him and it's not dumb.
Or you know what? Go out to the freaking Apple store that I know there's a billion of them in London and buy 2 iPhones, lock them down, and let them pull them out. Yeah. Put Zoom on it. Call Zoom. Hey guys, can we use your software? I'm sure Zoom's like, yeah, sure, as long as you put Zoom down in the corner.
What they should have done is because like those hotels all have those rooms where there's just like that wall of glass that divides spaces.
Yeah.
So they should have had them on either side of like a glass wall so they could see each other.
Like prison. Oh, Billy. Oh.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Right. This show is prison.
It is. I wish they would have done that. Like hand up through the phone.
Then they could do like the hands on the glass, like, hi, how are you?
Yes. If you guys can't see, Kim and I are doing the hands to the screen now. Yep. All right. That's my wild card.
I liked it. Lessons learned. What did you learn the last 2 weeks, Bill?
I've learned that we've learned nothing during COVID, and we are still in the freaking dark ages. No, I think what I learned was that, man, that show has a weird power over people, because I thought the same thing you thought. It's like they are in London with like an all expenses paid bus that's probably going to drive them wherever you want. I would be at the head of the bus. Like, we are going to the London Tower. We are going to go see, all of the sites in London. I want you to take me to some seedy dance club. I want to go to a pub. I want to watch an England match. Yep.
Go to a show.
Yep. Take me to Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
I want to go like play a game of tennis. Like, I would be dictating everything, but I think because they're on the show, they're like, oh God, I don't get what I want. So yeah.
Madness. I learned, what did I learn? I learned that I would not do well on an all-inclusive resort. And I know that that's silly, because if we ever do our thing where we go to the Bachelor in Paradise place, I will love that place. But we have a mole now that's been there that can vouch for like the food and the coolness of it.
Christy and Jorge have been there. So hi,
I know, and it sounds really awesome. So but yeah, I just like I am a non-relaxed. People do not enjoy. I don't think people enjoy vacationing with me, which is probably why I do so well on solo travel, because I don't want to sit around. I don't want to sit around and drink all day. I want to go boom, 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 and then crash in my hotel at night.
Yep.
And so I learned that if I had been stuck on that double-decker bus with those girls, they would have hated me. Or they would have loved me, because I would have been like, nope, we're doing this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, because several of them had been there before. And they should have been, and maybe the producers wouldn't let them, but they should have been more like, okay, here's something fun we can do. Let's go to the London Eye, and then you can see all of London from the top, and then we can figure out where to go next. Like, I think they drove by Parliament. I think they drove by Big Ben. Hey, kids, look, it's Big Ben. Classic National Anthem, European vacation. But they didn't, like, there's just so much to do there, and they did nothing. I do, again, that bartender is my new favorite person, and I'm so glad that she got as much screen time as she did. But that's one pub that was probably in the hotel that they're staying at. They probably didn't even go to a cool, like, local pub. It was probably just like the pub in the hotel.
And I think she was a legit bartender. She was.
I do too.
The actor butler.
He wasn't an actor butler like the other guys were.
All right. We ready for the city shout out?
Please.
Because I've been watching so much The Office, I realized that we have had listeners from Stamford, Connecticut. Remember, Stamford is where Jim went for like 4 episodes, and then they closed the branch down. That's when Karen came over, and Andy and several other people.
Stamford, Connecticut. Stamford, Connecticut.
Here's what I know about Stamford, Connecticut. It was settled in 1641. It was incorporated in 1893. It became a city in 1949. It covers 52 square miles. Well, it was consolidated in 1949, so it hasn't been around that long.
No.
Yeah. It has a population of 135,000. The climate right now in February, let me find it. The average temperature would be 41 degrees. The record high is 74, and the record low is -15. So feeling a bit like Iowa. They are 49.3% non-Hispanic white, 14% Black African American, 0.3 American Indian, 8.6% Asian American, 27.2 Hispanic or Latino, and then a bunch of other stuff. Who are some famous people from here? They've got a bunch of famous people. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it on the coast?
It does look like it's like up against a harbor of some sort.
I think I've been through it on a train then.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's like in a harbor, like all around like Milford, Guilford, Harrison, Bayville, Glen Cove. So
okay.
Famous people. They have a ton. Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon, owner of
Nice.
Worldwide Wrestling. Let's see, who else did I see on here? We've got Christopher Lloyd, one of my
Nice.
favorite actors. Peggy Wood.
I don't know who that is.
Actress from Algonquin's Round Table. Jen Psaki, who I have a low-key crush on, who was
Yeah.
the House Press
secretary, right?
House Press Secretary. Yeah, I got a big old crush on her. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
Literary and writing. Let's see, J.D. Salinger of Catcher in the Rye. Yep.
Dang.
Yeah, music. They didn't have anyone that I was immediately like, this is great. And then sports, they've got, who did I see here? Chris Dudley, who played for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Cavaliers and New York Knicks.
The Cleveland Clavicles.
Cleveland Cavaliers. And there was a baseball player I saw in here. Oh, David Cohn, MLB pitcher. And that is all I know.
Yes, I know who both of those men are.
And that is everybody I know, everything I know about Stamford, Connecticut. Thank you so much, all, for being a listener. We appreciate.
Thank you, Stanford.
We appreciate your patronage. I don't know if that's the right word because no one pays us, but except Squirt Zero, who's going to start sponsoring us. Squirt. If ever there was a person who should be sponsored by Squirt, and Kim can back me up, it is me. I drink a lot of Diet Squirt.
I like Squirt too.
Yeah, I love it. I
All
feel
right.
so dirty whenever I say, let's talk about it, but whatever.
Squirt is a fun word to say.
It is.
Squirt. Squirt.
It's like moist, but less offensive.
I hate the word moist.
All right. Is that all we got for today?
I think that's all we have.
What
Thank
was
you
your
so
favorite,
much.
as a parting word, what was your favorite term you heard while you were in England, Wales?
Okay, so one of my friends who she's English,
Mhm.
when she says that, she drops the F-bomb constantly.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't really swear before I was over. So the three women that I spent the first half of the week with, we were all students together at the University of Swansea. They are all British. One lives in Wales and two are in England. And the one who I didn't really swear, and I definitely never swore in front of my mother before I lived internationally. And she would say, "Oh, for F's sake." I've said some naughty words on the podcast already today, so I'm trying. But she would say, "Oh, for F's sake," all the time. And my room was next to her, so I heard it all the time, and I definitely picked it up. And the day I flew home and my mom picked me up at the airport and we were driving back to Ames, I was digging through my carry-on trying to find something to show her, and I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And I like sat back up in the chair and was like, "Oh, I just swore in front of my mom." And she started laughing and she was like, "Well, you have definitely learned some things while you were over there." And the whole time we were together, she probably said that word 35,000 times. I mean, it was awesome. And it was just like, we're right back where we were, everyone. We just all picked up. So I'm going to say that just hearing the F-bomb so much again is the word that I enjoyed the most hearing while I was over there.
Love it. We will leave you all with that. Your extra credit assignment is to say it in front of your parents. Have a great weekend.
Yes. Have a great weekend. Bye.
You have been listening to Batchademia
with your hosts, Danielle Dick McGee.
Kim Hanna,
And Bill Henning.
All thoughts and opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the person who spoke them.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the show, leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, please share with your family, friends, colleagues, and other ardent Bachelor fans.
If you have comments or questions you would like us to address on the show, you can email us at batchademia@gmail.com.
Or on the Twitter with the handle @Batchademia.
Thanks for listening.